Welcome back to the Dopesick Show. You might get sick of it today. I'm pretty tired. Talked about that possible YouTuber MMA event, and I stayed up making a whole bunch of plans, talking to a whole bunch of people. So it'd pretty much be probably about 10 matches, half prison YouTubers fighting each other, and half actual professional fighters. So, that way, there's some actual skilled fighters in there. Then you get some people that trained a little bit and they get a little bit wild, which that can be fun as can be too. But anyway, I figured I'd just talk about a little something different today. I've got I think it was 100 some subscribers in the past day. Sometimes it just hits, then it goes slow for a long time. But a lot of people have been asking me about Sasha. So, Judo is my judo coach's dog's name. Judo is a 125-pound German Shepherd, and he is Sasha's dad. In exchange for studying him out, my judo coach Tarek gets pick of the litter. Now, ironically, my judo coach, his dog, Sasha's dad, was trained as a cadaver dog, a heart attack alert dog, and self-defense attack dog on command should need be, by my federal probation officer. Go figure. Yeah, the place that I went to train judo was with a guy who was friends with my probation officer. That actually worked out well. I had a good probation officer. He knew that I wasn't doing anything bad, so he didn't give me a hard time. He knew I was pretty much just training obsessively, doing a whole bunch of different stuff, and working on this book, which I've got a rough draft of that just to show y'all. I ain't BSing. Hold on. Oh yeah. Got some spelling errors. This is the book I've worked on for the past year. I handwrite, but do it all by hand. I know. I'm a caveman. But this is the, rough draft of it. Surviving Dopesick. Figure, Dopesick, the book. I taught the author that word. She's giving me credit for that. I have that on videotape. So, it's a slang word. It ain't copyrighted. And, I didn't get anything out of the book or TV show. So, maybe I could springboard off it a little bit. That'd be nice, right? Basically, in addition to a whole bunch of stories, something I've heard is there's no instruction manual for what to do if you've got a family member that's addicted. So, in addition to a lot of stories that make you laugh, make you cry, make you go, oh my God, about stuff that I did, I talk about what worked and what didn't work. You can have a degree, but if you go to a psychiatrist with somebody that has substance abuse issues, it's likely everyone you see, if you see multiple ones, will all have a different answer for what to do. I have seen 3 particular psychiatrists that are the most common. One is the prick who just talks so condescending to you. This has been men and women. There was one that told my mom to kick me out of the house when I was 14. That's not legal, but that was his advice. Change the locks and everything else. There's others that swear to God your uncle must have, done something to you when you were little. And I'm like, no, none of that happened, except for at one time, made me dress up with that in that little ballerina. Never mind. Anyway, that type of thing ain't funny. Casey's family, Casey's mom actually had to marry someone who assaulted her and got her pregnant when she was 13 because it was the good Christian thing to do. And then she had Casey a year later at 14. It's my fiance, so been 2 generations of that type of abuse, and of course I was in a prison that had 40% of those type of people. I despise that type of person. We can all have differences on religion, politics, but we agree. Don't like you if you mess with the kids. And if you do like people, trying to excuse that, with some psychological this or that, and I know it's kind of ironic because I do talk about addiction and I do talk about it being a disease. And I'm sure, that's a disease too, but that's a disease that, they need to go ahead and, I feel a certain type of way about that. But anyhow, regarding addiction, back to that. There's one counselor that will swear that you had to have had something bad. You're covering something up. And then you'll have another one that just comes up with a consequence reward system. And if you do good, you start getting more freedom, more privileges. If you don't, life gets tougher. That's the best one. Consequence reward. I mean, that's the first thing in psychology. It was. I mean, things are starting to change now. If you don't like something, it's a different age right now. I don't understand it. But anyway, with the different psychiatrists, you can all have all these drug counselors that have all this education but no practical experience with it. I got put in a bunch of rehabs. I was actually part of something that's called body broking, where they send you to rehab to make money off the insurance. Like, there's this grimy dude that drives a used Mustang, and he's with a girl that's 2 months clean, half his age. You're not supposed to be with somebody unless they've had a year clean and you're an NA. And this guy who's got 20-some years clean shanks up with a girl who's got 2 months clean. Now, body brokers, what they are is they are people who try to send you to rehab every chance they get. And it generally costs insurance between 8 to, gotta press this, we're all good though, between 8 to 30,000 for a 28-day stay. This guy would call my mom every so often and ask, well, how's he doing? He doing all right? He was hoping something would happen. I went to the rehab first time when I was 14 to avoid charges. I was selling a bunch of opium. The guy who told on me actually is doing a 30-year prison sentence right now. I'll tell that one another day. But anyway, sorry, I'm a little behind on sleep, so I do apologize. I know I'm not my typical today, but I'm really excited about stuff and getting it together. But anyway, so try to get back on what I was talking about. I was talking about addiction. The body brokers, yes, they will send people there, and they will even pay addicts $1,000, $2,000 to go to rehab. Sometimes $500, go get you cleaned up and you get some money. Some of them will even sell you drugs. It's a movie you need to watch with Nick Grillo, who I like. Nick Grillo, he actually did Fight World, where he went around the world fighting in different martial arts, but it's a good movie. You should watch Body Brokers because it's a real thing. The statistics with how much money is spent on rehabs. All rehab is a place that is supposed to be drug-free, that you do all these different groups that are going to tell you how the brain reacts when you do drugs, and how normally you feel a little good, a little bad, a little good, a little bad. And when you do drugs, it makes you feel really good. But when you crash, you feel really, it just basically common sense type stuff. And you have to sit in these groups all day long. But for the most part, there's not, people think you send someone to rehab and it's going to fix them. That's not how it works at all. It took 5 to 6 months on the year and a month I was in jail before I made bond for my federal charges, and I got time served for the 13 months and drug court for my state charges, and I was allowed to stay out and complete drug court. But anyway, it took 5 months, 6 months in, and finding out that people that I grew up with lied because they were coerced. They were told, say this or you're going to prison. They said, but we didn't see that. They said, yes, you did. Sign that. You're going to prison. I'm going to uncover a whole lot. I would shut up about it now. Just accept it if it's what it was. But these guys have come forward and apologized. Like, I've actually got stuff to work with here. But anyway, with facing 20 to life charges, when I was getting told on by everybody that was friends with the person that actually sold it, so then I'd be the fall person. I got notes in the regional jail saying, well, you ain't had a whole lot of charges, you should just take this one. And I talked to my lawyer about that, and he's like, are you an idiot? You do understand what mandatory minimum means? You got to do that time. It's not like a guideline, because in state, the heroin charges I had, it said it carried 5 to 40. Oh God, I thought I was going away. Minimum 5 years, but maybe as much as 40. I had multiple charges. It's stupid. It's a guideline. But no, it's what it carries, but the guideline was like 7 months to 18 months. Or no, I think it was 16 months. 16 months, I believe. And I ended up spending, the higher end, 13 months. And drug court. Usually when people do drug court, they don't go to jail. It's, if they do, it's for a very minimal time. And when you complete drug court, it's for first-time felons. It dismisses your felony charge. My conditions of drug court were, I just got to be out on bond for my federal charges while doing it. I did not get my felonies wiped clean like everybody else who completed drug court did. But it was worth it. I got to be out on bond for 2 years. I was a good son to my mom and dad. I was a good brother to my sister. I was I made use of my time. Now, we didn't have prison YouTubers back then, so I was worried Felice Johnson was going to get my old butt. So I trained Kempo Karate 4 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I lifted weights hour and a half, 2 hours a day, because I was scared to death. Didn't have any reasonable information. And, so I lifted like a mother. And, of course, my first day at Petersburg Law, I got approached by 4 guys. Big Steve, he's about 230, 6'8". And the other 3 just looked like old weirdos. And they came up and tried to give me this box of, like, stuff, like a little bit of food, hygiene. And I said, y'all don't keep that. I said, no, you don't have to give anything back. And I said, I bet I don't. I said, I'll bust every one of you up. Get out of my cell. Turned out they were a nice Christian group. Yeah, I embarrassed myself there. Steve and I actually became friends, the big tall guy. But the other people, we didn't end up becoming friends. It was very awkward after that. But, I thought, they was trying to pull that honey bun on a pillow type thing. I said, I done been schooled on that. And even if I did eat a honey bun on my pillow, come on, make me pay up. That's why I learned to fight. I'm just a dork. I'm just a dork who loves to study weird stuff and everything else. And I'm odd, and how I act is, I'm autistic. But I'm a dork. But I can't stand being talked down to or bullied. And I put every hour I could. I went to so many seminars when I was out on bond. Enzo Gracie, got to train at his seminar. Matt Serra, when I went to the seminar, it's called the Karate College. It's in Radford, Virginia. It's multiple martial artists. Paul Cretan, Bill Superfoot Wallace with the fastest kicks ever recorded. Oh, that old man could have whooped any 20-year-old in that building. Man, that man stood in front of black belts, and he said, he had his hands down by his side. He said, put your hands 6 inches away from your face. He says, okay. I'm going to slap you right there in your face. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And he, from the hip, he'd throw a jab out, smack them in their face, and these black belts couldn't block it. Man was that quick. It's an undefeated kickboxer, fastest kicks ever recorded. I think he was like close to 70 then. I was ashamed of myself. I'd put on some muscle, but I went in that damn locker room, and this old wrinkly faced man with the horseshoe and bald head had a 6-pack abs. Made me ashamed of myself. I said, oh my God, I gotta do something with myself. This old man, Lord have mercy. He was friends with Elvis Presley and ran his school in Tennessee. Elvis opened a gym and made him, let him run it, so then he'd have a place to train. Elvis was a huge Kempo Karate enthusiast, and one of his proudest possessions, I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody who went over to his house and he said, come here, let me show you something. And the guy's like, what's he going to show me? Pulls out these papers. Apparently, these guys were, heckling him coming out of somewhere, and he told his bodyguards, it's all right, guys, I got this. And he beat up like 2 or 3 guys. He's a big old dude. If you actually type in Elvis Presley Kempo Karate, you can see him training with Ed Parker. Ed Parker was the one who put on the, I think it was Long Island. He put on the thing where Bruce Lee did all that, that 1-inch punch stuff and all that stuff, which, that was pretty cool. But I mean, practical use, no. He was ahead of his time, and he trained in a little bit of everything, Bruce. But the 1-inch punch thing, practical use, no. And I don't think that you should punch with your lead hand with your bottom 3 knuckles. I think you're going to break them if you do that. It's with a side fist, Now, Bruce could have hung with a lot of people, but let's be real about it. If you put Gene LaBelle, who taught Bruce judo and grappling, against Bruce, the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Brad Pitt beating up Bruce Lee. They said Brad Pitt, that was supposed to be Gene LaBelle, who he was playing. And Gene LaBelle allegedly made Steven Seagal go to the bathroom on his pants. Steven Seagal liked to beat up stuntmen. So I'm just going off on random stuff here, so sorry if you don't like this, but I think it's interesting stuff. I'm a dork. So I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about today instead of a set story. So I do apologize if this sucks. But anyways, Steven Seagal would really hit the stuntmen, and they were complaining about it. Well, Gene LaBelle's a national judo champion. Wrestling, he'd actually sparred with Sugar Ray, I think Robinson, and he got hit. I think he got hit something like 150 times in one round. He told the story and he said that Sugar Ray Robinson, I think it was Robinson, pretty sure, was in the boxing gym that he trained at and said, who wants to go around with the Sugar Man? He said he beat him up all to pieces, but he could take a punch, okay? And there was a boxer, Milo Savage, who said there was no martial artist, that boxing was the only thing, and that karate, all this other stuff was useless. He beat up any one of you. Well, Ed Parker called Gene LaBelle, and Gene LaBelle was in the first mixed rules fight that was televised. Gene LaBelle was not allowed to punch. He was just allowed to grapple, I believe, if I remember right. Milo Savage had to wear a judo gi top, which was a little bit odd. Milo Savage had brass knuckles and no stuffing in his gloves. You can see Gene's belt being torn to pieces from the punches from the brass knuckles when he's throwing them in this black and white footage. Everybody thought Milo was going to win. Boxer, yeah. Gene took him down, and he choked him all the way unconscious, 100%. Oh, it was right. They threw chairs and everything in, but when he's choking him unconscious, Milo Savage tried to grab, as Gene says, he tried to grab the old sisters, talking about, he tried to grab him, and he said, Milo, if you grab me there, I'm going to take your eye out. So he quit trying to grab him, and he just accepted his fate, and he went unconscious. And I'd wanted to train in these other arts, but my Kempo teacher was so possessive. If you went to go train anything else other than him, he cross-trained. I learned that now, that he cross-trained at the judo club I train at now. But if you cross-trained, you were dead to the school. It was like a cult-like gym. And there was a girl that looked like she was in her mid-20s. Sweet girl, but she's a kid. She was 14 when I first started training there. And the coach would let people know, chill out, man. She's only 14. When people would come in and people would hit her, she looked like she was in her 20s. The 2 years I was there, she seemed like she was obsessed with him. Unhealthily. Whenever he had a girlfriend, she'd put a mat in the ground and start punching it. Now, this girl, she could fight too. This girl beat up grown men. She'd been training. She made it her life. She was obsessed with him. She was obsessed with the gym. And I found out after I went to prison for 8 years in federal prison for a drug deal, I did not profit off of range, or even know it was going to take place, until a random knock came at my door for somebody that I did not invite one night. I got 8 years. They asked for 15. My lawyer asked for 0 because I changed my life. They gave me 8. 0, 15, 8. This guy who had been telling people, chill out, man, she's underage, apparently had been, he was a chomo for 2 years. Irreparable damage to her mind, I realized how young she was because we drove home from a seminar with the coach one day, and he let her out. And I saw her run off with her little friends and how little they were. And I was like, she's just a baby. She's, I'd say at that time she was about 15, and she was beating grown men. But somehow she was allowed to go with him just alone. Over his partner and everything else. And he only got 6 months for 2 years of what he did. And I got 8 years for that. So I'm a little bitter towards that. And Yeah, especially when I was in a prison with all those people. It was really hard to, a hard pill to swallow. But anyway, it was the best thing that could have happened because I started reading books. Jeff Thompson, George St. Pierre, read their books. George St. Pierre said rather than training at an MMA gym, you can only get as good as somebody who's mediocre. He trains with specialists. John Charles Skrbowski, the drunken Muay Thai master. Phil Nurse, also Muay Thai master. John Danaher, genius. Muay Thai expert. He trained 10 years before even starting Jiu-Jitsu. When Matt Serra started his own gym, John Danaher didn't start Jiu-Jitsu till he was 28. He is the best coach in the world right now. He has revolutionized the entire game. He has an American-born student that's only been training 10 years. Brazilians dominate because they've trained since birth. It's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Gordon Ryan was 7 years training, and he was only like, I think he was only like 200 at the time. Now, he's big and jacked now. There's a sudden, it might be some Mexican supplements involved. He got real big real quick. But anyway, he's so good. He's won like 60, 70 matches straight, and he'll put in an envelope sealed and hand it to the announcers how he's going to tap people out. He just toys with people and does whatever he wants to them. He's the best, and it's because of John Danaher, and he credits him. John Danaher was a purple belt when Matt Serra went and started his own gym, and he dropped out. He was getting his master's or something. He dropped out to become the best teacher, and he literally lives in the gym all day, 12 to 14 hours a day. There's a funny story. If you look up Gordon Ryan, John Danaher, and Wi-Fi, it's a really funny clip. He asked Gordon, "What do you think about Wi-Fi, Gordon?" And he said, "What do you mean what I think about it? Is it worth it?" "Well, of course it's worth it. You watch TV. I despise TV." "Well, you can watch, the judo matches, wrestling matches up on the... Or no, yeah, he said, I've got 5G on my phone. I don't need that." And Gordon sat and he thought, and he says, "Well, what if you have a chick over here and she wants to watch Netflix?" And John said, "Good point. How much is it?" Watch the clip. It's incredibly funny. But he's a unique person. He wears a rash guard, a jiu-jitsu rash guard, which is kind of like what you'd wear when you go surfing or something. He wears them every day. He doesn't wear anything else. At Matt Serra's wedding, he wore his really nice rash guard. He refuses to wear anything else. He hadn't bought bowls after living in Puerto Rico for over a year. They moved to Puerto Rico when the shutdown happened with the virus, and so then they could train. He lived there for a year. Gordon had to go bring him bowls. Like, he's a unique person, but he's a genius, and he's dedicated his life to it, and he's changed it. He will go down in history books as someone who's changed it. But he was the reason that George St. Pierre, Sasha, Jesus, did not lose to B.J. Penn the first fight. B.J. Penn touched George St. Pierre up. They were going to try to stand up with him. John Danaher realized that B.J. Penn wasn't as good off his back as he was passing. George St. Pierre, never having wrestled, became the best wrestler in MMA. Period. He was taking down champion wrestlers. It is wild how it happened, but Danaher agreed to their plan of him standing striking, and he said, if it doesn't work in this round, you'll do my plan in the second round. Second and third, St. Pierre took him. It was Danaher who had him win. Danaher is the genius behind the scenes. Somebody I've got a lot of admiration for. So, hey, I'm going to shut up. If you didn't like this, I get it. If you did, press the like button. I'm sorry this wasn't the typical. I like to have, like, a certain amount of enthusiasm and wherewithal to tell certain stories to give them the attention they deserve. There are some of the stories that, I'm holding off on I'll probably hold off on them for a couple of years. They're more, I'm basically like Frank off Shameless, except younger. Every day was like some type of adventure. Casey says, "How many brothers do you have?" Because everybody comes in and says they were my brother. Went on some little crazy adventure with me, and it was just like a Wednesday for me. Justin Berger, JB, came in today. His uncle just got out of federal prison too. He's in USPs. He was in, I don't know where he's locked up. I hadn't talked to him yet, but he was locked up with DMX. Everything about the locations and stuff, I'm sure I will verify that so then I can prove that he was in the same place at the same time. But I'm going to try to get him on to talk. And JB, he's got an incredible story. At 16, he was driving $250,000 worth of coke. At 16. He's driving it back to Virginia at 16. And I heard a couple guys in prison who he drove for, and after he walked away one time, they didn't know I was listening. They said, every time he drove back, there was about an ounce or two missing off every brick. It had a little bit of BS replaced with it. Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah, you bet he was skimming. I know he was skimming. He's probably getting, if he's bringing back 20, I bet you he's getting a brick off of it. But he's a wild dude. He's the reason that I got strong. I got good on squat and I got good on deadlift, but bench press I was pitiful on. I credit him with that. The first group I had was just they tried to overtrain and force reps, which just not work. You're better off lifting a weight that you can competently lift every set until the last 2 sets, and then you need to be able to to lift 90% of it without any help. I can put 30 pounds on each of these 2 fingers and hold it like this. If I do this, I can lift 80 pounds off. So when people say, I'm just touching it, no. That's what the first group did. JB got me in his group. And, JB black, but JB's my brother. JB is more my brother, more my family than 90% of my cousins. Okay, JB heard somebody offer me drugs when I was on the weight pile, and I told him, nah, I'm good, buddy. And he said, hey, just come in there and try to sell you. I said, yeah, but you heard me. I said, no. I found out 2 weeks later, he smacked the guy up. He beat the hell out of the guy for offering it to me. And he said, no, man, no, he doesn't get to do that, man. You've been doing good. You've been doing good since you've been here. That can mess your whole life up. And I didn't even know about it. He didn't want to thank you. Wasn't trying to look cool. Wasn't trying to do none of that. But that's a brother right there. Cares about your best interest. And when I got out, I sent him when he needed it. If he's down, I sent it, and kept up with him. He had a cell phone for a little while in there. FaceTime me from in there. That's some wild stuff when people do that. When somebody in prison, they FaceTime you. Oh Lord, that's some wild stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna get him on here. Tell some of these stories. They put me on people. They say, I'll put the white boy on you. And I hated people saying white boy, but anyway, they'd say, I'll put the white boy on you. If there was somebody out there talking trash, and my bench press wasn't that great. I only got up, I never got that high. JB got higher, far higher than I did on that, but deadlift, that's my thing. And squat, they said I had white people genetics. So my legs in deadlift was going to get good, but arms and chest was going to be a little bit lagging behind. Say shoulders, it's both the same. But I laughed when they said that, but shoot, dang if it wasn't true. But JB, that as Pinto calls it, a word that's not really politically correct. He says I have that type of strength. But that's JB, my buddy. I mean, he got me in that crew. He insisted. And if he hadn't done that, shoot. And it's helped. It's helped in jiu-jitsu because, although it is about technique, if you're evenly matched with skill, at gorilla strength, it can help. I ain't that big. I'm like 175 right now, and I'm a little pudgy at that. I need to lose some, But anyhow, I'm going to shut up for real now. I'm tired, y'all. But there's going to be some incredible stuff that develops. If y'all know people that seem like they want to fight, prison YouTubers, let me know. I'm going to call somebody out. I have them in mind. And I'm going to talk about it later, but they disrespected Rick from Vegas Prison Stories, and I can't stand for that. Rick, Weavy, Lance, Jay Williams, those are genuine people. I'm genuine and I can see it because I am myself. And there was somebody who did him bad. And I'll come in, I'll weigh 155 pounds 24 hours before the fight. This guy will do it. He's probably going to ignore me though. But, if I'm friends with somebody and got their back 10,000% all along the way, I will never screw them over. Which has worked against me a lot because I've gotten screwed over a lot because not everybody's that way. It's hard for me to understand that. But I'll be talking on this more later. And I'll offer the dude money to come out. So much money to come out, so much money if he can whoop me. And I really hope he does, because I'm really, really annoyed, because it really, really humiliated Rick. He acted like Rick was a liar on the live with his buddies, and Rick was sitting there watching on another live, and he said, no, he's not going to say. He said it, and we all heard him say it, and then the guy said, yeah, I'm telling you, he's lying. And Rick has proof and everything else. That's unacceptable. There's a level of right and wrong, morals and stuff like that. And for somebody, he has helped more people. His buddy Frank's Positive Vibes, which great channel, check it out by the way. He's gotten him more subscribers than he got himself. Doing a raffle every week. He has helped more people behind the scenes. I would not know Lance right now if it was not for Rick. I would not know Weavy, Big Weavy. And I'm behind Rick. You know what I mean? I got his back, and I'm pissed about that. Everybody else let it go. And I'm sure it burns Rick up a little bit. I'm not letting it go. I'm going to keep on mentioning it, because it isn't right. I'll talk about it more later. I'm going to shut up.